And welcome to another fun-filled episode of Chillin with the Pool. I'm your host with the most, Pirate Master Deadpool Supreme, here to unveil to you something brand new, something never before seen, and exclusive to this channel alone. Yep, that's right. You see, fans have been asking for this for years, and today I finally caved in and decided to finally jump aboard the bandwagon and reveal something super extraordinary, something extra special. What is it, you may ask? Well, ladies and gentlemen, never before seen on this channel, I give you, ta-da! The first issue of the Neo Ultimate Spider-Man, or as I like to call it, the Penultimate Spider-Man, considering it's the second to last universe Marvel has ever created. Yep, after months of contemplating, I finally caved in and purchased the very first issue of the Neo Ultimate Spider-Man, the title "Married with Children," created and written by Jonathan Hickman, who's definitely proven himself to be the most competent writer on Marvel's entire staff. What do you think? What do you think, Adam Warlock? I think that his work is definitely something that's worth writing home about, and I believe that if he can able to carry a good story, then I think that this is definitely worth the read. Sure words were never spoken, especially by Glamrock Space Jesus himself. I have no idea who you are referencing, but I'll take that as a compliment, I think. As you should. Now then, let's get into the issue at hand, shall we? Yep, the issue basically just starts out with... Yep, Married with Children, written by Jonathan Hickman, and the artists and the editorial staff that you have seen over here. Oh, here's a prologue. It says here, 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. When the young Tony Stark learned the dark history of this universe, he sought to undo it, prompting the Maker's council to attack Manhattan, killing thousands, and then framing Stark for all of it to slow down the investigation. Peter Parker has saved his life unaware of the Maker's council or the truth behind the spider, but that's about to change. The issue, basically, the whole story pretty much starts in January, and what makes this issue so unique is pretty much that that people in this reality actually age with the flow of time. It starts out in January of 2024, the year that this issue and the series was first published. And behold, ladies and gentlemen, these are Penultimate Spider-Man's kids: Richard Parker, the eldest, and May Parker, the youngest. Both with striking red hair, and we all know who that means that they're related to. And of course, that would be none other than, ta-da! Mary Jane Watson, the original go-getter herself. Model, mother, and business PR entrepreneur. Yep, that's right. Fans have been asking for her and Spider-Man to get together for years. And believe it or not, our wishes and their wishes have finally come to pass. So as you can see, Peter and MJ are now married with kids. And yes, I am not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. They really are. They are. Their kids, Richard and Mayday, are pretty much as sweet as you can be, especially Mayday. Richard, being the eldest of the duo, seems to be the most intelligent. He's definitely inherited his father's brains. And I think what most people are trying to hint at is that he may be, and this is my tad maybe autistic. But then again, they seem to be throwing that word a lot around these days. And of course, what Spider-Man / Peter Parker story isn't complete without the very sweet and endearing Betty Brant, and of course the loudmouth and unfortunately enduring J. Jonah Jameson screaming at the top of his lungs, "Parker!" But here's a twist. Oh hey there, Peter. Morning, boss. Sorry, no time for chit chat. He was looking for the other Parker, as in Ben Parker. That's right. This is Ben Parker, the famous Uncle Ben, the one that kickstarted Peter's guilt tripping and responsibility. The guilt tripping one was just an unintended consequences, but the sense of responsibility definitely came from Ben Parker. Yep, he definitely looks the part. He, along with Robbie Robertson of this universe, pretty much helped to keep Jameson grounded and firmly in the ground. or actually, yeah, just keep Jameson grounded, you know, without flying too far off the handle. You know, a seemingly good person, but with a loud mouth that could rattle the timbers of every house within a 2-block radius. So as you can see from this comic book interaction, Jameson actually is very nice to Peter. Surprisingly, I know fans will say that he's been nice to Peter in the past before, but that's always been overshadowed by his grumpy and mean demeanor. I mean, Jameson. As much as a big Jameson hater myself, I do have to admit he does have his good sides. He's not just solely a grumpy asshole all the time. There's kind of a lot more to him from that. Just like with real people. Hell, he even lends Peter his tie and everything. And stuff. He says, "I want the tie back." Anyway, Ben hints that Peter was on. Oh yeah, Peter hints that oh wait, let's see. Here it is. Ben hints that Peter was only 15 when his parents died. Now, from what we've assumed from Peter's parents in the past, it's safe to assume that they went through the exact same plane crash and through their line of espionage workload that their 616 counterparts went through beforehand. But the fact that Peter was able to live till 15 when they died instead of being like, say, 6 or so, just goes to show that the Penultimate universe is definitely a step in the right direction. Ben says they never tried to replace his parents or anything, but I think their actions definitely speak louder than words. Oh, looks like we got a comment here. Hello there. And everything. So, but yeah, basically it says 20 years ago, so it's not a day that's gonna hurt when it's gone. He goes, no. Now you know exactly how I feel. This scene is kind of the scene where where the Maker attacked New York and blames Tony Stark is pretty much reminiscent to 9/11. It seems fitting given that the fact the Ultimate Universe was the first one to take place within the modern world, or at least have some modern changes brought up to snuff. And of course, you can recognize this here familiar face. His name in this is Matt Murdock. In the original universe, he was actually a lawyer, but in this universe, it seems he was actually a blind reverend. And it seems fitting given his Catholic roots. And of course, as you can see by this mark here, it seems as though Mape Archer has unfortunately snuffed it. Peter and his family have gathered to mourn the loss of the family members that had been lost during the Maker's onslaught of this entire place. And of course, you'll find the wall here. Their names were Norman and Emily Osborn. So, yep, that's right. As you can see right behind the speech bubble, Norman and Emily Osborn are among the many who had lost their lives. Now, you may think, oh, Norman Osborn, well, that shouldn't be a surprise. He was in most continuities, he was a terrible person, but Emily, on the other hand, I don't think she was barely a character. She was just a prop for the story to happen. Well, some cases it may be true, and maybe one day they could write on some of the authors or fanfic writers could make a story where they turn Emily Osborn into an actual character, complete with flaws and all. I know that I'd like to see that, along with Peter's parents, both getting their flaws and everything just fleshed out, so that way we can get to know them better, instead of them just being used as background props for Peter's overarching story to happen. And of course, this older gentleman right here is none other than Harry Osborn, Harry Osborn, that's right, he's all grown up too, and with better looking hair, I may add. No more cornrows or waves for him. I always felt that hairstyle was not suiting for someone like him. I mean, come on, he's a pasty white kid. He's not. And the one thing that I'll agree with the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show is that they actually made Harry Osborn African American, because I think the cornrows and the waves actually fit that kind of skin texture. I'm not saying it in a racist way. I'm saying it in a way that the characters have the different color. Not colored skin, but just stuff. Skin tones, yeah, the skin tones that can actually fit the hairstyles. I'm speaking it as more of a hairstylist profession more than a racial undertones. But anyway, Harry talks about how as Harry is busy giving his speech, you can definitely tell there's definitely hurt and pain in his undertones in his voice, reminiscent to those who have just recently been affected by 9/11 and everything. and stuff. So Peter and Harry, now, in this universe, Peter hasn't met Harry Osborn just yet. So it's still, so everything is still pretty new. Now, unfortunately, sometime later, Harry Jameson and Ben Parker have pretty much quit the Daily Bugle. Why, do you ask? Simple. This mofo right here, Wilson Moriarty Fisk, better known to all as the Kingpin of Crime. He's taken over the Bugle and has decided to, and like most millionaire entrepreneurs, has decided to pirate or Shanghai the news into writing only the best stuff about him. And everything. So Ben and so what do most journalists do when they find out their newspaper have been shanghaied and everything? They quit the paper and decide to start their own. After Fisk's business transaction, boom! A new hero, or possibly villain, has entered the scene. And you all recognized him. He's lean, he's green, and he's a fighting machine. It's none other than the Green Goblin! Packed with purple and you'll notice that his costume is made out of stark armor, but with the original Goblin Nation's armor. When I was writing the Goblin War for my headcanon, this is the armor that the Goblin minions would be wearing. I mean, come on, the design and everything alone looks pretty damn cool. Everything, you got the glider and everything. Seriously, it's pretty much jam-packed in everything. Ugh. Sorry about that, folks. Just have to stretch my legs a little bit. So, as you can see, Ben and Jonah pretty much meet up at this restaurant, and they decide to talk about the future of what their potential paper is going to be. Ben suggests they tell the truth, to which Jameson is pretty much laughing. You know how hard it is to get Jameson to laugh at something genuinely funny? He purposely leaves out his sense of humor. He's not really known for his sense of humor, and if he was, it would basically just be at Spider-Man's expense. But when something this entrepreneurial unfolds, it's usually has a bit more weight to it. So I just stretch my legs a little bit. He says, I believe in not going to die alone. There's a thing called justice. It's this entire universe. It's one thing I know for sure. And that there's no truth, there's no justice. And there's no truth. That there's no truth in the news, and no news in the truth. Truth in the news, and no news in the truth. So much of a fortune cookie runaround saying as that is, it's actually true. Anything can be a dirty business. Corruption leaks in. And everyone's susceptible to corruption, and no one's immune. We are all prone to our flaws and our vices. It's just what makes us human. So anyway, they invite Peter over to join the news as their leading photographer. But Peter says he has a family and everything to think of, and a 401k. And you think that this is the moment where Ben Parker gives his famous, with great power comes great responsibility. But nope, this Ben Parker is definitely a lot different from the other Ben Parkers. For one, he feels like an actual character instead of a prop for the story to happen. And secondly, though we don't get to know May Parker of this universe, you'd think, from the way Ben is, I'd say that she's probably no different from her original Ultimate Verse counterpart. And that is my definitive May Parker. I'll skip ahead for a few pages because this is just basically Peter and Ben just negotiating. After the kids are put to bed, Peter and MJ have their talk. The worlds have their talk and everything. It kind of goes on for a couple of more pages and everything, but MJ relates to Ben, saying that she quit to start her own business back in 2023, and you were 100% aboard. I mean, sure, we've got bills and kids, and it might be tough, but would you think for a second that I wouldn't be behind you doing something else? No, I mean, it's like, MJ, I mean, Peter is all glad and everything, but he just wants a change. He just wants to see the world, so to speak, and everything. He just wants to break out. This is just like one of those other stories. It's like he wants to break out of his bubble and see the rest of the world. This story tells you how he did it. I hope you will like them, because the fans helped Jonathan to make them. And that's the truth behind that. And MJ says their iconic line, "Go get him, Tiger." That alone is what inspires Peter Parker to further investigate, or at least to try to break out of his bubble to see the world. And here he's in contact with Iron Man, who in this world is pretty much actually reminiscent of the Tony Stark from Iron Man Armored Avengers. You know, the old CGI show that pretty much showcased Tony, Rhodey, and Pepper as teenagers. I actually like that show. It really it really helped to give Tony, Pepper, all of the titular trio into actual characters. You know, with flaws and all. Pepper being hyperactive, Tony being the head of the group, and Rhodey being the voice of reason. I love that show, and the fact I wish it got renewed for some other seasons, or at least was kind of like in the same line as, you know, X-Men 97, where they got the X-Men 97 treatment. Anyway, this is the scene where basically Tony tells the entire world, tells Peter the truth of how he was, since he was the most prominent and most, you know, potentially dangerous hero, the Maker knew he had to go. And for those of you who don't know, the Maker was actually Reed Richards' evil twin from the Ultimate Universe, from the original Ultimate Universe. So he decides, do you want your life back? And Peter flashes back to Ben's wake up, and MJ's like, go get him, Tiger. So Peter allows the radioactive spider to bite him. And thus, this world's Spider-Man is born. A month or so goes by, and Peter starts learning a thing or two about taking up the mantle. Or at least taking up the, starts learning the ropes. Peter's kids start feeling a bit hesitant about this new hero being onto the scene. But Peter isn't so worried. But you know, their mother, on the other hand, definitely sees some changes, and knowing MJ, she's quite likes it. You've been working out? She's like, maybe a little. Of course, Peter wearing the all-black suit is wearing the all-black suit, but it doesn't look anything. But it's not Venom, not so to speak. It's just a guy wearing an all-black jumpsuit. I know, kind of cheap, kind of unoriginal, but this is still Peter. Peter's still starting out, so he'll get the hang of it. Meanwhile, Jameson and Ben hang out in this Turkish baths and begin further discussing their plans for starting up their new newspaper. This stretches on for a few more pages, but the gist of it's basically they need to find a headline, or at least a title to be for their breakout issue. It's basically just a lot of build up, back and forth and build up. So Jonathan Hickman was pretty much known for that. It's what basically tells good storytelling. Now, Peter is still getting a lot of practice. Because he's an adult and has never done this before, he's still pretty much new to the scene. And, of course, he gets his ass ended to go by the first villain on the list, the Shocker. And Shocker's like, ever done this sort of thing before? And Shocker's like, technically no. So, apparently, this world's Shocker is a lot smarter than Peter is. So he decides, he's like, you know what, I'm clear on... Whatever I had planned, I was wrong. Thank you for stopping me before I did something I regret. Wait, seriously? Seriously. I didn't want to I'm just desperate. But there's always another way, right? So I want to thank you for coming in, for what you've done today, for stopping me. I owe you. Sir, anytime, mister, just call me Blast, the Shocker. So basically, Shocker was just lying through his teeth and taking advantage of gullible old Peter Parker. He played the sob story, and to an inexperienced crime fighter, that unfortunately worked. Yeah, Peter goes home grumbling that night. He's like, let's be friends, he says. Can't believe this, huh? So he gets home eating ice cream. And unfortunately, he gets caught by his youngest daughter, Mayday. And she's like, oh boy. Now of course, being the young kid that she is, she starts crying, and she's pretty much scared that her father was actually this dark masked maniac. He's like, oh gosh, it's just me, it's Daddy, huh? Daddy's like, yes, it's me, Mayday. Why are you dressed like that guy? What if I told you that he dresses like me? Of course, he tries to spin this around on Mayday, but, you know, that's definitely not going to work. Peter convinces Mayday to keep his secret, but seeing as though he fell into a dumpster and everything, he probably has to shower first. And I bribe with ice cream, and he's like, so Mayday and Peter are the only ones that know the secret just yet. We flash forward a little bit later, so Peter confronts the Shocker again. This time he has learned from his past mistake, and thus becoming a much wiser and starting on his path to becoming a much wiser and cautious hero. And that's when he runs into the Green Goblin. But the Goblin is actually, but in this world, the Goblin is actually a hero. Now you might be wondering, who is this guy? Well, that'll be revealed in just a few minutes. Peter sees this drawing that Mayday had made. I drew you a picture of your spider. Hope you like it. You're the best. Love, May. See, I think this is what everybody loves most about this issue most of all. Peter actually has a family. And as you can tell by this variant cover, Peter Parker is finally happy and married with kids. 2 months have now a month has passed, and Richard and MJ are starting to catch on to Peter and Mayday's secret. So Peter brushes us off as like saying, "Come on, nothing Mayday means is enjoying some solid daddy-daughter time." And yes, absolutely nothing. Maybe the two of you are deflecting for something. It's like, all right, Richard and I are heading out. He's like, "Mom says I need some new shoes. I think they fit perfectly, but she disagrees. So I'm getting these shoes." So yeah, there's definitely something a bit up about him, and you'll find out more about it when the later issues come in. Next, Peter takes Mayday up to the roof, and they start experimenting with different costumes. This one is obviously akin to the Scarlet Spider, but with a color scheme. This one is almost reminiscent of Iron Spider. This one, I think, looks kind of a bit just like what Annie Mae Parker's looks like in the Renew Your Vows. But then, of course, Mayday finds the right one, and of course, that's the iconic midnight bluish black with all scarlet red. So yeah, anyway, back to Jonah and Ben's side plot. These two are getting started on building their business, and like any good entrepreneurial, they have to start from the ground up. It may be a dump, but it's a fixer-upper. Peter joins in on them, thinking that there's a conspiracy theory going on. What might it be? Well, you'll have to tune in. Well, you'll have to pick up a copy at your local comic book store to find out more. Anyway, back to Peter. Peter decides to starting to get the hang of the stakeout business, and then he realizes, he hates it. And for those of you who are wondering, the suit comes with its own artificial webbing and everything. He doesn't make his web fluid like he does in the 616 universe. The suit comes with the webs, so he's just, kind of there for the ride. But then again, this is still Peter Parker starting out, or a mature Peter Parker, I should say. And then, of course, you have the insight of the Green Goblin attacking one of Wilson Fisk's henchmen, Penultimate Bullseye. And I have to admit, the costume does look a lot more sleeker than than his 616 counterpart. I think the nice midnight bluish black and gray actually helped to settle it in, saying that he's definitely an assassin that means business. So Peter joins in on the fray and webs him up. But unfortunately, Bullseye gets the upper hand, given that he's much more experienced about this. And Goblin uses this as an advantage to take out Bullseye. So yeah, a predator like you doesn't even realize he's just walked into a trap. So while the Goblin catches him off guard, Spider-Man knocks him right upside the head. And then the two start chatting for a little bit. Goblin straps Bullseye to his glider and has him carried off to somewhere for interrogation purposes, whether it be to the cops or someone else. But given that this is the Penultimate universe, Goblin uses his tech to hack into Peter's Picotech suit, and thus instead of it being paper, it's actually the sand. See the black inky substance that's coming from Peter's mask? Well, it's hinted at this could be the Venom symbiote. And the only time will tell. And it's revealed that the Green Goblin is none other than Harry Osborn. And he and Peter hit it off and everything, and decide to go for drinks to further talk about their new dynamic. The next month, Peter and MJ go out to dinner. They're looking sleek and stylish, and as a result, they meet Harry Osborn at the restaurant. As you can tell, Harry definitely is dressed business savvy. I mean, look at that, perfect, better hair, a nice gray suit with a green tie and a green and brown tie. Hey, this guy is dressed all up into the nines. And you'll never guess who he's marrying. Never guess who he's married to. No, wait, not MJ. You can tell he's married to... Surprise! It's none other than Gwen Stacy, all grown up. That's another thing I enjoyed about this book. Gwen Stacy is now officially an adult. Yep, no longer a college co-ed from the 70s, just all grown up. And married to her best friend, Harry Osborn. You know, if it wasn't for Liz, I actually thought that Gwen and Harry would have made a great couple. They'd been best friends for the longest time, both lost their mothers, and enjoy watching horror movies on Mother's Day. It's an non-tradition, but it's their tradition. And that's how you can tell these two have such great chemistry. Great chemistry. Hell, in some realities, they actually got married and had 2 kids, Gabriel and Sarah. Yep, you might recognize those names from the Sins Past story arc that was definitely so controversial it got retconned in the Nick Spencer run. But I think that if they had the right stuff, they just used the wrong characters to execute it. I think that within the right continuity, I think that Gwen and Harry being married with Gabriel and Sarah as their kids definitely shows that these two, their friendship definitely blossomed into something more. So yeah, they sit down, and eat, and Gwen contemplates the fact of having children, but she is considering, although whether this be true or not is completely up to one's interpretation. They talk for a little bit more. And they get to know each other a bit. Know each other a bit more. Harry goes on to this conspiratorial rave about the state of the world and all that. Now that if you want to learn more, it's pretty dialogue and conversational heavy, so if you really want to learn more about what they're actually saying, feel free to pick up a copy at your local comic book store, and on Amazon, or wherever books are sold. So, Ben and Jameson are just tasked with watching the kids until their parents get home. And everything. So, of course, being that this is Harry Osborn, you know that this is actually that he's definitely going to have some daddy issues. But then again, I think that's the thing why he and MJ got along so well. They both come from semi-abusive homes. Their moms were not of any help. Harry's mom died. MJ's mom was, well, just there and never really did much for it. And man, MJ's father was pretty much just an abusive prick who cared for who blamed everyone but himself for his own faults and everything. Hell, he wanted to be a writer, but unfortunately he kept blaming everyone else for their distractions, and kind of was the reason why MJ's mom left her life as an actress to take care of them, and the rest pretty much kind of fell apart from there. Gwen then talks to Peter, saying that there's a reason that people like Spider-Man exist. That he's fulfilling a need for either good or bad. It's like, no, I like to think that he isn't a bad guy, but in a lot of ways, him being a good guy would be more upsetting to certain people, especially those at the top. Knowing Gwen, she definitely has there's a lot more to Penultimate verse Gwen than meets the eye. Something that implies that something's wrong with the world, and maybe what he's looking for is a cure for what ails us. It's like, I can see you've thought about this quite a bit. People need heroes, Peter. Even if your uncle is going to report on that, good for him. Maybe you could lend him some of his photos. That's what she says. I work for the Bugle, and you always will with an attitude like that. And it's like, hey, CEO of a billionaire company, go easy on the working folk. But she isn't wrong, though. Fair enough. So yeah. But anyway, I think we're gonna actually, still got some time left. All right, now that we've reached the halfway mark of this story, let's check back in on our Well, I think that the penultimate universe so far is going along great. It's very dialogue heavy, come to think of it, and dialogue heavy, but at least the characters are still playing character. What do you think, Adam? I think you took the words right out of my mouth. Pirate Master Deadpool Supreme. God, I can't believe I still have to call you that. Hey, it's in the jar. It's in the official name, so get used to it. I wish I didn't have to. But you are right about one thing. The penultimate universe definitely is definitely full of surprises. Alright then, and now back to the book. This is one of my favorite panels here. Gwen and MJ as grown women, just pampering in the ladies' room. I mean, come on, these two look fine. Look fine as adults. I mean, fine. I mean, they're no longer teenagers or ditzy college co-eds. These two are full-grown women. I'm actually really glad to see that Gwen is an actual full-blown adult here, instead of just some ditzy college co-ed with an inconsistent personality. She was basically made a prop for the story to happen. But I like how this. I can understand why Marvel likes her so much. They want to turn her into an actual character, complete with flaws and all. I know that they say that she wasn't meant to live or anything like that, but that's not really true. As they say, a bad writer gets rid of stuff that doesn't work, whereas a great writer makes that stuff work. So yeah, these two basically want to go talk back and forth, and she's saying, since you're their brand manager, that you could set up something between me and the grumpy old men of the Bugle. I was kind of in the mood to launch a pirate ship, and by that I mean the Bugle. On the outside. On the outside, Gwen, Peter, and Harry pretty much are discussing the same things. But Harry says that the difference between him and Peter is that he actually told his wife his secret identity. And he's like, "Are you kidding me? That means you'll put her in grave danger." She's like, "Yeah, I'm Sarah." The way he says it, I'm thinking I love my wife, and since this is a marriage between us, we don't keep secrets. Have you told anyone knows? My kid caught me in my costume. Well, thank God. For a second there, I thought you were going to lecture me about the importance of keeping secrets and whatnot. She's like, it is important. And I haven't told MJ because, look, it's not that I don't trust her or anything. That would be ridiculous. Like we haven't seen that happen before. Wink. But it's like, I have to protect them somehow, right? And Harry's like, you seriously think you can live this life and insulate the people you love from the consequences? And it's like, I don't even sure if I want to do this or whatever it is anymore. It's like, I've seen you in action, and if you're brave enough to do it, you should be brave enough to tell. It's like, you have to help save the world, Pete. And you may not be able to carry it on your shoulders, but you have a new great power for you to stop. And it's like, you have great power, Peter. And here comes the famous tagline. With great power comes greater responsibility. It's such a gift, but only if you use it. So yeah, we get the whole great power comes great responsibility thing, not from Uncle Ben, but from Harry Osborn. Now that shows that he's definitely grown into his own. We also get a flashback to Harry's life and saying that, and of course we get to see Norman Osborn and being his, Osborn self and everything. Harry was running late to a party that he and his parents are having. You can definitely, and then boom, the building that they're in explodes. And Harry's eyes just go wide with fear, horror, and realization. This is pretty much like the equivalent of watching when one of the planes hit the towers on 9/11. People could not believe this actually was happening, but apparently it did. So yeah, anyway, right after their death, Harry and Gwen visit Osborn's attorney. He gets Gwen is always supportive. As you can tell by this, Gwen is truly supportive of Harry. They always have been. They've been best friends for years, long before they ever met Peter. And stuff. All right, and now we'll be right back after these important messages. Ow. And now, back to the story. Harry ends up takes the card that he got from his attorney and ends up meeting with Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime. He says that he had bought he was going to buy out Oscorp and staying in Stark International with as part of his business conglomerates. There's a lot of heavy dialogue and stuff. But yeah, anyway, we fast forward to another part. This is a pretty long story, so bear with me on this, folks. The guy who's spent next to it is, yep. So Harry and Gwen discover a secret bunker within Stark International, containing all of Iron Man's original armor, from War Machine to the Ultimate Iron Man suit and the original 616 armored. and stuff. You're probably wondering, who is this guy that's right with him? That's right next to him. Well, you'll soon find out just in a minute. So anyway, they find the armor and decide to hack into Stain/Stark's tech support with a 0. Their parents and their kids. Am I right? Some of them. Yeah. You're wondering, who is this gentleman anyway? Is he Mendel Strom, Norman Osborn's personal lab assistant, or is it someone completely different? Or perhaps it's someone of a different name. It turns out the guy you see here is Penultimate verse Otto Octavius, who you might know in the 616 universe as Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man's actual archenemy. I know people will say the Green Goblin, but I always felt that was more of Harry's archenemy, given that he is his dad and all, and I always figured that the whole father v son thing had a much more dramatic thing than some, oh, my best friend's fighting my best friend's dad. It's like, yeah, that kind of is a bit clunky when you say it out loud. Decide an NDA. Otto has an NDA. He's like, no, it's like he's gonna need a new one with more teeth. He's like, so otherwise I don't get to play with the new toys. He's like, where do I sign? So anyway, after that, Gwen, the Green Goblin, attacks Shocker once more, and this time knocks him out. Then, as they were meeting up for drinks, this is just for them. Actually, they're just meeting up for drinks and stuff. Infant life. It was supposed to. Peter, during their drinks, Peter finds out that he was actually supposed to be like a superhero in a past life. He's like, man, it's like I'm supposed to be a superhero, and as soon as I knew it, it was in my bones. It's like, yeah, I was supposed to have a different life, which someone stole from the same people that you're talking about. Yeah, Peter, I'm not really sure about that one. Considering all the crap that you've been through since even prior to and after 2007, I'd say that the Maker really helped you dodge a bullet there, or instead just didn't point the gun directly at your face, so to speak. Because the way his life's going now, especially from the Zeb Wells run, it's definitely not looking good. So yeah, as you can tell, Harry was actually interrogating Bullseye, the Kingpin's assassin. Bullseye, the Kingpin's top mark assassin. It's like, we're about to find, so he starts interrogating him to find out. The issue then starts to round out to a close when Richard and MJ find out about Peter's secret identity, especially after he got that shiner. And as it turns out, Mayday kind of ratted her father out, but in a much more endearing and adorable way. Like, she didn't want to keep the secret, and she didn't mean to let it slip, and she's immediately sorry. She's just the sweetest thing ever. I mean, come on, you gotta admit, she is pretty darn cute. That black eye. So she basically reveals how their first night on the job, Peter and Harry decided to go out and to bust in on the Kingpin. They crash through the window for this, yada yada yada. They try to fight the Kingpin, but turns out in this world the Kingpin's a lot more prepared for them, especially when he has this. What is it, you may ask? It's some kind of later nanotech under armor. And that seriously, the guy looks enormous. The guy looks like he actually could eat Spider-Man. But I'm not really afraid. If you've seen the Spider-Man One More Day tie-in, you'll know that Spider-Man, in a fit of rage, beat the Kingpin's fat ass. I mean, seriously, he just bitch-slapped him left and right. Right for this. But man, I think this is just him getting back at that version of Spider-Man for beating his ass like a bongo drum. And that's basically just how Peter got that black eye and everything. And to be clear, he's like, there might be some professional grievances at play, but someone has to stop them, and that's what I kind of do. And it's like, Matey's like, Dad, are you gonna have to fight them again? It's like, well, we can't just go on doing bad things to good people. Let them do bad things to good people, right? She's like, she kept it secret for 4 whole months. Their mother's not upset and everything. The kids are just wanting to make sure that their dad is just being careful and everything. And of course, knowing MJ, she's like, wish you told me sooner. I'm quite proud. Call it 30% scared, 40% impressed, and other numbers for other things. And knowing MJ, so Peter definitely has that look saying, ah, I get it. So he's trying to find out. The story ends with Peter just trying to find the perfect name for his costume persona. And MJ, being the iconic knockout that she is, already tells him that he already knows. In costume, you already know what your iconic name is. And that's Spider-Man. Amazing, spectacular, and so much more. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the first issue of the Penultimate Spider-Man. Yep, this story, it's probably the most surprising Spider-Man story of the 21st century at the dawn of the Penultimate universe. He's a husband, father, and has managed to properly juggle his responsibilities as a new responsibilities as a costume fighter and lend an aid to his new friend, the Harry Osborn, the Green Goblin. So, tell me what you think of the story sounds. What you thought of the story, Adam? It drags on, it's a bit dialogue heavy, but I think it's safe to say that the character dynamics are firing on all cylinders. Could have put it better, and couldn't have put it better myself, Adam. All right, looks like we're just about out of time for this week's episode. For today's episode, but be sure to tune in either tomorrow or something when we dive into a brand new and less thick book that I think is really going to take you all by storm. Until next time, true believers, Excelsior. Oh wait, Adam, do you want to close this out too? Tune in next time, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Okay, not as dynamic as I thought it would be, but you know what? Close enough. Until next time, true believers, Excelsior.